I want to do a series of videos on European shamanism. And this is very near and dear to my heart. And when I first became a pagan back in the 90s, I sought to understand the shamanic paths of my ancestral lineages. And through that, I learned that before the Romans had conquered Europe, that there were very rich indigenous practices all over Europe, in Germany, in the Swiss Alps, in France, Spain, England, Ireland, Scotland, Scandinavia, in the Slavic regions, even in Italy. All of these regions had very powerful ancestral practices that not only connected us to our living ancestors who birthed us through the years, but also to the land which nourished our ancestors as well. And it was really challenging. It was really challenging because when I became a pagan, I just really received a lot of hatred from so many people, from so many groups, and I couldn't figure it out. And something happened in the last couple of weeks, and it led me to do some rituals this last week to kind of like talk to my ancestors. And I was doing a heart chakra clearing last night, and some ancestors came through and talked to me, and I've been meditating about doing these series of videos. And I want to say that these videos are for pagans, people who want to recover the ancestral pagan roots of their ancestral bloodlines, and also people maybe who want to expand their consciousness and delve into some shadow stuff, because I'm going to bring up some dark stuff, and this is important. And I don't want to spread victim consciousness, but it's really important to understand that pagans, especially European pagans, get a lot of shade thrown at them in the spiritual communities, especially in the New Age communities. And I couldn't figure it out. Like, I came from proud pagan, communities. Like, I was in kindreds, and I was in druid groves and witch covens. And I was just like, yeah, I'm a pagan, I'm a witch, I'm a magician, like I'm a rune magician and a witch and an elemental witch. Like, I'm proud of the work I did. I mean, I really have worked hard for 30 years to heal my ancestral darkness around what happened in the last 1,000 years with Europe, and recover. And I've met my ancient ancestors all the way back to like the Neolithic age. I've met these ancestors who have taught me in dreams and in visions how to do my rituals. And I'm proud of the work I did. And yet, inevitably, when I go into New Age circles, the first thing I'm asked is, am I a good witch? And I'm like, why are you asking that? Like, if I was a shaman from Papua New Guinea walking into that scene, or if I was a shaman from South America or the Indigenous Americas, and I walked into a room and said, I am a shaman of my tribe, you would never ask that person, are you a good shaman or are you a bad shaman? But I get that all the time. And I tried to tell them, I was like, well, especially since I work with the elements, I harm none, because if you harm anybody and you go into the elemental kingdom, you are presented in the underworld with beings that are of your frequency. So if you harm, you will meet other beings that harm in the elemental world. It's just, yeah, for self-protection, I have to be harmless. Like, because if I do crazy stuff here, in this reality field, if I go in the underworld, I am going to be inundated with spirits that are trying to attack me because they're like, "Ooh, you're another predator. Let's attack her," you know? And I just don't want to have to deal with that. But I understand also that I also can defend myself. So I'm not helpless, and I've had to use magic to defend myself, and it's been a little scary. Like, I was really shocked at some of the results of my magic spells, but my intention was not to harm. My intention was to protect me and to keep my bodily sovereignty, and especially with people who had intent to harm me and my physical body. So yeah, so it's really like there isn't a black and white thing. It's beyond good and evil. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Like, especially for those of us who are German shamans, and we work with runes and the runic energies, we also get a lot of stigma from Nazi Germany. Let's just take it all out. Let's take this out of the cupboard. It's so true. Like, anytime I walk around, I have runes tattooed on my body, and people are like, "Are you a neo-Nazi?" And I'm like, "No." No, our ancestors were, so neo-Nazis are like a bastardization of what Germans could have been. And I will explain in later videos why I think that neo-Nazis, they're very similar to American Christian nationalists. Very, very similar. And what it is, it's when you take spirituality and you marry it with empire. So your spirituality is not connected to the land. It's not connected to your ancestors. It's not connected to making your family, your body, or the land whole anymore. And your religion and your spirituality is only connected to rule, conquest, control, and subjugating people. That's what you get. You get Christian nationalists, you get Nazi Germany, and you get the Roman Catholic Church and the Roman Empire. That's what you get. Their spirituality had nothing to do with their ancestry or the land. And I mean, like, really, like, if you look at the rhetoric of Nazi Germany, like, they talked a lot about the motherland and reviving, German folk traditions. But were they praying to their ancestors? Were they going to the ancestral mounds? Were they praying for their land? Were they speaking to the land spirits and the gnomes and the pixies and the dwarves that live under the hills and in the mountains and the caves? Were they praying to them to help them heal their families? Were they giving offerings to the animals? Were they slowing down and connecting to the cycles of the earth? I don't know if you know this, but in Germany, in ancient Germany, my ancestors, we start the day with the sunset. Most people start the day at midnight. No, it starts with the sun setting. There is a very sacred time of the sun setting. It is the end of the day and the beginning of a new day. And that's why, like, in witchcraft, Samhain, which is at the setting of the year, this is like where it's the cross quarter of the year where the sun begins to go into its darkest phase. So it's literally the setting of the sun during the yearly cycle. That is the beginning of the year. That's the new year. Not in January when it's really cold, but at the beginning of the last harvest, when the sun is setting, that is the beginning of the day. Same with Germany. The sun setting is the day start. I'll talk more.